our business, I was talking to my brother about this morning, who I work closely with. What's the purpose of technology or information technology? Our business, are we the people you call to get your computers fixed? Does IT, is it there to make life better or more frustrating? Is it for faster internet, or is it just to streamline your operations? And a pretty common theme, whether we look at EID or the drafting races and all that sort of stuff, it's all about trying to reduce the work, whether it's reducing hard work or reducing the number of people that you need to do that work. So, to be blunt, our business is about labour replacement or reducing labour or labour efficiency. We would love to I would love to hire another 2 or 3 techs at Intuit to get all the work done through the day, so I'm not doing work at 10 o'clock at night. But you've got to be able to justify putting another person on, and you've got to sell a lot of computers to do that. So it's all a no-brainer. It's the same in any industry. So just as an example, now we don't have any sound, but this is a demo. Well, Michael showed me this 2 weeks ago. So this is a pump that's 70k round trip from the homestead. So this is up near Roxby Downs. The pump has to be started every day. It actually pumps Adelaide water, believe it or not. Some of these things come out of Woomera, which is where that pipeline finishes up. So they start it every day and they run it for 8 hours. And once they left, obviously there's no visibility on what that pump's doing. So this is a little bit of automation that was otherwise done by someone driving a Land Cruiser out there and starting it up manually. Let's see how the technology goes. It's around the right way, so we're halfway there. Little actuator there just moved in. That's from pressing a button on. I was doing it on my computer at home. You can do it on the phone. It's only taken a little while because I've never done it before. Gave time for the pigeon to walk in. You can actually hear him, but we'll just imagine the sound he's making. See the pump winding up there. The least Kubota engines are everywhere up there. They love it. Pretty obvious it's working. We're not looking at any pressure gauges or anything like that. Belts going around. You can hear the pump going normally, and if you had a camera on a tank, you would see the water flowing and so on. Okay. So very basic example of labour replacement. And they can start and stop at any time of the day, obviously. Okay, so now all pumps on this property can be started and stopped from the phone or the computer anywhere, anytime. Now, on station country, some of this stuff is just a no-brainer. One of the links I'll show you later, it's a 210 kilometre round trip to send a person out there in a Land Cruiser 3 times a week. They sent them out there just to check to see if there was water in the trough. So that camera was probably the cheapest investment they've ever made. Okay, just a couple more pictures. Again, there's normally sound, but so one on the right's over on the west coast, and the one on the left is what they call a Bosworth tank. I think that's up near Roxby as well. So they want to see what's going on. Now, the station that has that tank on the left, they have 75 cameras or thereabouts. They look at it all on the screen. He gets up in the morning, pours out his cornflakes, has a look at the screen because it all just sits there and runs live, and does his water run. Now, if something's wrong, as in if there's a camera out or something like that, generally if something's wrong, then there's something wrong. I got told that the other day when I found that a sheep had got into one of our towers and chewed a cage. There was something wrong. But that's what they do. So, and for some of these guys, it's an 80% turnaround in their time that they can go and do other things. They haven't actually replaced staff on these stations. They certainly don't need to get more staff, especially in the environment that's up there at the moment. It's a bit tough. So in that, like if they wanted to actively monitor goat numbers, they can set the numbers to record. They can set the cameras to record. And there was mention there of foxes dragging down lambs. One of the first cameras that was put on a new customer up there, that night they saw 4 dogs inside the dog fence trying to drag down a steer. So out there the next night with a bit of dog repellent, so to speak. Rightio, so in the north, this will sound like a bit of marketing, but just gives you an idea on the scale of what people are asking for up there. So we, Intuit, which means Mike, my brother, because I haven't done any of this up there, 15 million acres, 60,000 square k's, which ballpark, if you drew a line from Adelaide across the Victorian border, New South Wales border, if it's that high, down to Mount Gambier and back up to Adelaide, that's about that area, all covered in Wi-Fi links. Across all the stations, about 320 cameras, God knows how many solar repeaters to make up all those networks. Okay? They're all individual networks on the stations, but because everything's so clear up there, it's actually got more to the point of when, we can link the majority of those networks up and pour one good internet connection into them, and they potentially could end up with better internet than what you can get in the city. So that's a project for a little bit later. We've got too much other stuff going on. How do you justify the cost? So the cost is in the network, not what's connected to it. It's a bit like building a road, you know. It takes years to build a road, it takes minutes to drive down it. The cost to put a network up there is a lot of money. The average cost for a tank or a trough site's about $3,500. Down here you think it'd be cheaper because the distances are shorter, but you're battling two things down here. One is trees, and two is less solar radiation. Ultimately, the less hardware costs you need up there, you need more panels down here. So the question is, if you said, look, I just want a camera up in the hill, just so I don't have to drive up to that bloody tank because I hate opening that gate. It's an expensive camera. You know, $3,500 per site, plus the infrastructure you've got to put back at the house. You know, it could be, whatever, $6,000, say, just as a rough figure. It's a hard thing to justify. It's pretty convenient just to go and fix the gate. But if you went from one and, say, went to 15 or 20, then the guy who, or the person who's doing the stock run, or checking your water every other day, especially when the weather's hot, if it's saving you having to get them to do that work, then all of a sudden the investment starts to be justified. Again, it's labour reduction or labour efficiency. They can go and do something else. I had an interesting conversation with someone only last night about, he asked me, he said, do you have any auto trough cleaners? Have you done anything like that? Because he said, you know, you get a dusty day, and fill your trough up with dirt, and cattle, young weaners won't drink, and you lose productivity and all that sort of stuff. So I emailed Mike actually because I knew he was busy, and I said, was it you that I was talking to about auto trough cleaning? And he come back, yeah. I said, have you got any information on it? And he sent me a picture of the side of his head. He said, yeah, it's in here. He's done it, and they've done it up north, where you can hit a button and it will clean out your trough. It's very simple. Mike did 15 years or thereabouts in dairy, so he knows what tough needs to be to survive cattle. So you know, they're the kind of things that you think about when you're putting in this kind of network. You don't just putting in a wireless network isn't just for cameras, and I'll cover that a little bit later. It's all the other stuff. Think of all the things you connect to a wireless network at home, and extrapolate that out. So here's an example. This is an oyster farm which is 20 k's off of Streaky Bay. They put it out there for a bit of security, and as it turns out, that's on the same network that they have the cameras on at the shop. So, you know, there's a multi-use there. And, you know, there's other things that you could connect to that. Again, I'm going to cover all that a little bit later. Environmental monitoring of the water, for argument's sake. You start tying in other things, but using the wireless network as the backbone. So, a bit of an outline of what wireless networks can provide. Live access to all connected devices. There's no monthly licence or SIM charges. Now, there's a balance there in that argument, because if you're going to run, you know, quite a long distance that does, you know, if the application's easy on your farm, then using Telstra or using SIM charges is probably going to be a lot cheaper and more cost effective than building your own wireless network. But for up there, they don't have phone coverage, so again, it's a no-brainer. A lot of them wanted to get away from the $400, $500 a month satellite or subscription type charges that they were getting. As I said, we don't charge a support fee. We go up there, we put it in, and the thing works. Comes with its warranty. If anything fails or if it needs maintenance, we can send the gear up there and they can replace it. They don't need a technician to do it. So we teach them how to terminate a cable, because out there it doesn't matter what they're doing. Everyone's an electrician north of Port Augusta, I've been told. When I say terminate, I mean data, not 240 volts, by the way. So we can send stuff up there pre-configured and they can replace it, okay? And that, for them, is a great thing. One of the biggest installs done up there, and the fellow maintains it, he's completely illiterate. Can't read or write, but he can weld, and he knows how to keep his camera system going, so he's pretty happy. Average replacement cost is about $200. Okay, so benefits continued. Dramatically reduced costs. We've covered all that, increasing labour efficiency. It creates a platform for new technologies that will be internet connected. The internet's not going away. I don't think it's going to change anytime soon. So the point of all of this stuff, and more and more of it's happening, is that products are there that will connect either via Ethernet, via a network cable, or wireless. And if they do that, then they can hit a broader consumer market, prices are cheaper, and so it all flows on. And it lets you operate where you normally cannot. The picture on the left, that's them doing the install, that's that tank. You can see the lake there, it's about 40 or 50 k's across, but they've got to drive around the lake to get to it. And that's one of the salt lakes up north. And it has operate where you normally cannot. Unfortunately, they're driving out past that sign, not going towards it. So that's up at Woomera. My wife's cousin owns Wirramina Station, and they have live fire exercises up there, which they found out after they drove past the sign. They work very well with the military up there, but you don't just go and stick a tower up on a hill because it will get targeted. I believe a tank got lit up there a few years ago. So system consolidation, again, my point with wireless networks is you can do lots of things with it. So this is up on the Eyre Peninsula, and it's combining Wi-Fi calling, which I'll explain in a minute. For those who don't know, it's an internet repeater, and it's the basis of a water management platform, trough and tank monitoring for later on. So they got 6 satellites. There's 3 satellites up there. They were having problems with them. It was slow, high latency, slow to respond. So we went up there, we stuck an Optus modem in that cabinet up on the hill, north of Iron Knob. Thumping great range up there. I think there's about 320 metres high. The dish on top, that points towards the station, or a hill next to the station, 32 kilometres that link is. That's a 5 gig link, so high capacity, you can pump a lot through it. Then there's another 4K link down to the homestead, and then that rebroadcasts to all the stations in the buildings, gives them school of the air, internet for the employees, mobile phone and internet, and again, if he wants to go and bolt some cameras onto the whole system, we just put more radios on and away it goes. Very, very, very happy customer. That was a $10,000, well it was actually a bit more than that, but it was about a $10,000 exercise. But they just think it's the best money they've spent. So again, a lot of work. That track was bulldozed up there a week prior. I picked it out via Google Earth. Probably should have done a little bit more ground research, because Mike got there and wondering how the hell he was going to drive up that hill. Just, who knows what Wi-Fi calling is? Just hands up. So I'm not. Yeah. Okay. So it's really interesting that this hasn't been pushed into. It's been around for a while now, but why Telstra and Optus don't advertise what it is beyond me. So here we go. I brought this back in because the last the talk I did, no one knew. So it's, if you've got a fairly recent phone, so anything that's higher than an iPhone 6S or an Samsung S7 or higher, and with the firmware reasonably updated on it, software updated on it, you can get Wi-Fi calling. And all it is your phone's connected to your wireless internet. So let's say you've got NBN at home, NBN satellite at home, and you've got a wireless network in your house. Connect your phone to the wireless, go into phone settings, ask me after if you're curious how that happens. Turn on Wi-Fi call, and you give it about a minute or less, and you'll get it come up on your phone. And that'll let you send and receive phone calls. There's no apps, it's not Viber or anything like that. You just make and receive phone calls. Doesn't matter if you're with Activate, NBN, or if you're with Optus Wireless, any phone on any network will work with it. So if you've got bad phone coverage, but you've got half-decent internet at home, it'll save you about $1,800 on a phone booster, which we do them also, but it's a very good alternative. Stations love it. So an example is at one of the tanks, where I was driving to Queensland, Michael called me, so that he was at a tank site on a car kit that he'd made out of Wi-Fi, He was 10 k's from the tank went 35 k's to the repeater, another 35 k's to another hill, down to the homestead, out through NBN satellite, and he could have been on a digital phone in the middle of Adelaide, and I wouldn't have known the difference. So it's a good thing. The only thing is, it doesn't do text messaging yet, but it will. So we've just got to wait for the big dogs to get that sorted out. So regional internet access. How are we going for time? We're all good. This is the other part of our business, and we've got a few people here today that are on the Intuit networks, as we call it. Again, from the example right at the start, it was people who it was a customer or a mate that just got sick of his internet connection. Can you do something about it? So I've written here, overcome the limitations imposed on regional Australia, and I use that word fairly freely because internet, not so much access. You know, we live out in the country. You know, you've got to build a road to your property. You've got to put a bore down for your water. You know, you've got to deal with your own septic tank. You know, you've generally got to deal a bit with your internet as well. So if you have to put it up on the antenna, that's fine. But in regional Australia, there is no valid reason at all why decent data plans couldn't be offered. And if anyone tries to feed us rubbish about the network can't handle it, that's garbage. So current options outside of towns before we did what we did was wireless data, good speed, nothing wrong with 4G, and Optus as well even. Optus internet is good. Don't worry about Optus phones. They're still as bad as they can be driving down the road. But Optus internet is good, but it's high cost. And if you go over it, you know, kids are in the back smashing Netflix because, as it turns out, you didn't know that they've got the password, and next thing you know, you've just spent $500 on movies. Satellite, I say not so high speed. They say it's the same download speed, but the latency is horrendous. So if you're trying to do Xero or any online accounting, banking, or anything like that, it's slow. It's low volume as well, excuse me. It's low volume as well, unless you want to stay up from midnight till 5 a.m. I don't know why they came up with that plan, but anyway. Just a little bit of information. Why do I use so much data? Kids are telling you they're doing heaps of homework. Is it bookwork use? Is it internet use? No. Netflix, Fortnite, as an example for a game, smashes it, and social media. Okay, so if you're still on a NextG plan and you're on 15 gig and you've got a teenager coming up through the ranks who are just itching to get on Snapchat, it's about 200 meg a day. So just so you know. Okay, and your bookwork, it's a tiny bit. It's just a tiny bit. So don't ever let anyone convince you that you're doing all your bookwork is burning up the internet. So this is one of our towers, not the one in the background because that's the power line, but it does make ours a bit more impressive. And that's just up at top of Marambro, or Glen 5, near where the Bordertown turn-off is. So our model's pretty simple. I say implementing, it's not, because it is a lot of work to get them up and running. So we, at the moment, we access a good quality internet connection from a town. So our network out of Narracourt runs on 2 NBN fibre to the node connections. Why do we use NBN? Because that's the best we could get at the time, and it is good. I've got to say, those fibre connections are good, but they're good because we're close to the exchange and all the other things that go with it. That'll be changing soon, and just by pure coincidence, the internet will actually be coming through that power line in the background shortly. That top wire is actually an earth feed and fibre optic, which they ran a few years ago. And that will be a game changer for us and our customers. We built solar repeaters, so they're all home built. Everything down to the pole, which we came up with a better way. That used to be, as the poles got higher and heavier, I was needing more people to lift them. Reduce the labour. We put a pendulum type thing on there, so now we can get 10 metres and one person can swing it up. A bit safer too than standing up the top there with a ladder. The other part of it is to remove all the, for want of a better term, BS associated with connecting. So we're local support, we're only just down the road. We have a lifetime warranty on the gear, so if anything fails while you're with us, doesn't matter if it's in 10 years' time, we'll just come out and replace it. Doing the continued improvements, and we don't have contracts. Your contract with us is your install, and that's all we need. We'll do the rest. So down here we've covered 1.5 million acres, that's 6,000 square k's in internet, and growing as fast as we can, or as fast as we physically can. in the southeast we have 83 sites, so that's repeating sites, whether it's a solar repeater or a repeater on someone's shed, connecting nearly 160 clients now and across 7 networks. Okay, so what we've got out there isn't infallible. We've actually got a bit of self-interference. We've got that many towers out there. Some of them are starting to interfere with others. That's the sort of stuff we're working on, and that all sort of happens in the next couple of months. And just, again, sorry, I know this sounds like a bit of a marketing campaign. That's not my intention, but we've joined up with Beam Internet, who are out of the Barossa. So if anyone's up in the mid-north or Barossa region, or Fleurieu even, Beam Internet have been doing this job. They're about 20 times our size, but there's still 2 blokes running it, along with all their staff. So the idea is that we're going to be increasing our network tenfold to be able to cope with what's going to happen as far as more customers and what the existing customers need. We're running gigabit internet into Keith and Narracourt, so it's, you know, if you're used to the 25 megabits or 10 megabits, so a gigabit connection is 1,000 megabits. It's no giga, it's no different to water, same terminology. It's fast, and it's a lot of it. So, and that's what will be coming down those power lines. So our next project is Emu Flat Road out east of Keith. Pretty tough out there for any kind of signal. Yeah, that's what's happening from there. And we're actually looking at the Mallee as well. So we've got a lot of colleagues up there that, or customers and friends. And so we're looking at going from basically from Lameroo right through to, well, not all the way to Oyen yet, but that's the kind of project we're looking at. So why do we use this technology? It's not that different. It's just better than what you perhaps get. So Telstra will sell you a Telstra Wi-Fi modem, and the Wi-Fi will get to the other end of the house if you're lucky. We use the same Wi-Fi technology, just a lot better hardware to do it. It's the same technology that drives the internet, so there's plenty of it around, and it's not going to change soon. It's not specialised, it's not customised. Again, the network provides one platform, so anything that's networkable now and in the future, and everything's going to be networkable going forward. I mean, you can turn your kettle on, or you can see what's in your fridge these days if you want to go to that length. That's the way everything's going. And again, provides the agricultural road for the IoT, the Internet of Things. So there's been a lot of talk about data today. How do we get it from those to useful data and so on? And this is what we think is, it's not even what we think, it really is just the way it's going to go. So you've got good internet, we've sorted that out. Everything's connected to the network, so we'll come up with those options in a minute. And so you've got all these other tools in place. What do you do with it all now? You've got to be able to pull all this information together. And that's where these systems come into place. So myinsight.io is a website that PowerTech, who we buy phone boosters through, they're actually working on this at the moment. They do already have some examples in play. But essentially, I'll read it out, extending connectivity for any range of physical devices to each other and the internet. So it's not just about them sending information out to you, to the internet. It's about them talking to other devices as well and having command and control over that for intelligent, automated decision making. As an example, moisture's up high enough, stop the pivot, just as an example. So we hear a lot about with the household applications, as I said, but what about agriculture? So these devices are either already network enabled or at least in some form could be. So EID systems. They may not have an Ethernet port, but I've done a lot of stuff with data over the years. And just one of the examples that I was throwing around before, Bluetooth your wand to a Samsung tablet, as for example, and you can scan straight into a Google spreadsheet. And a Google spreadsheet is just a Google version of Excel. And then there's all sorts of things. The best thing about that is it's backed up for each one that you scan. But you need the internet at the sheep yards to do it. So GPS tracking, they're all listed there. All of that stuff either can be, or will be able to be connected to some kind of network. Irrigation control and hydro wires. One of our customers can turn on 40 pumps in 15 seconds if he's in a hurry from an iPad. Now that's vineyards, frost control. So 40 pumps that they would have otherwise had to go around, turn on manually, but now they can start and stop, diesel and electric, and see everything from cameras in under a minute. That network, which is growing, has probably so far cost them about $100,000. That is cheap as chips for that kind of return. So, and that's with hydrolytes. Google it if you've got any kind of irrigation monitoring or soil moisture monitoring you're doing. Google that. It's pretty cool stuff. So, okay, we're getting towards the end. So that's what you've got to imagine, is having all those systems on one platform. That is, you can monitor it, you can report it, and you can take action on that information. And that's whether you change your practices over the course of months and years, or whether straight away you go and turn something off or on. That's where it's going. And if you can do that from a computer rather than paying someone else to do it, then that's a good thing as well. And everyone wants it on an app. I'll have an app for sure. So that pump that I showed you at the start. So on top of that, you now have flow and pressure monitoring that you can watch, and you can start pulling information out of that. The stock cameras. I saw something a few years ago. A fellow or a company had designed something that could differentiate between the animals that were going to the trough, and then have an auto gate there to move them to their respective herds. Herding kangaroos, but the thing could identify the difference. So why not do that? Geofencing went to it was a sheep exhibition last year in the Barossa, and that was meant to, I'm not too sure where geofencing's at, but they were talking sort of September, November last year as a release. But they're talking about mustering stock with a laptop. For up north, drop a helicopter. All of a sudden, all the tagging on cattle becomes very cheap. Gates shown on screen if they're open or closed, and the oysters that I was just showing you there before. There's environmental tracking data that you can see. We had a good yield this year. What was different in the water this year? What happened? What was going on? And not just temperature, nutrient, the whole shooting match. And the pivots, not just start, stop anymore, manage your pivots from automated soil moisture monitoring and watering. So, okay. Main thing with all this is, yes, you need productivity, yes, you need profit, but there's other things that these systems can do as well. They go a long way to improving safety and security. Again, I go up north, sending someone out on a water run 3 times a week, 42-degree heat, by themselves. One bloke up there, he had a heart attack when he was about 40 k's from the homestead. He wrote a letter out to his wife and his kids because he thought he was going to die. And he got back. He actually got back, but that was his catalyst for putting in something that could give him another alternative for communications. And for him, it was the Wi-Fi calling, having another option. Nothing is infallible. You don't rely on Wi-Fi calling if you need emergency services, but it was another option that he had. So obviously there to reduce costs and increase profits. We've covered that. And implemented correctly, they can free up your time for other important parts of your life. I was down at Robe we stopped at the Robe pub actually. It was after catching up with some friends, and I bumped into one of our clients that I'd never met before, but Michael's dealt with them all the time. Every trip he goes up there, and they'd called in the night before. There was a problem with one of the cameras. Mike checked it, it was all good, and there was one tank that they wanted to check, and if they could check that one tank, they could stay down on the beach for another day. The tank was all good, full of water, beauty. That's why they were at the pub that night. They thought that was pretty good. So if we can free up some of the time for a bit of off entertainment, then it's not a bad thing, is it? So I think that is it. Oh no, yep, that's right. Automation is here to stay. It's a no-brainer. And the scary thing is, that's not far away. And they're actually concept vehicles in play, so they're not just computer-generated drawings. So looks a bit weird, but I'm pretty sure your average combine harvester these days would have looked a bit weird too 50 years ago. So that's it from me. If you have any questions, by all means, I'll stick around for a little while. So if you have any questions, fire them at me now, or you can catch up with me after. Thanks everyone, appreciate it.